it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. Okay, so this is a very interesting message that's coming through, and it very much centers around schmegs. I feel like there is a couple here, and I don't think that they're actually a couple. I feel like they can't make it work as a couple. And I don't know how far along you've gotten into this relationship or how far you've not gotten in this relationship, but there seems to be an immense compatibility schmegally, but then there's also this kind of hidden incompatibility schmegally, and that's what Spirit is wanting me to talk about. I kind of feel like there's the way it's coming through to me is like there's this masculine energy that doesn't want the feminine energy to go, like feels like he's driven this feminine energy away or doesn't understand why he doesn't have the pull over her that he's used to having in his relationships or over feminine energies. But switch the genders if that applies here to your situation. I feel like there's one person that's like, you mean so much to me and we're so compatible and I want this to work out. I don't understand how that's not coming across, or I don't know how to get your attention, or I don't know how to get it in the right way, or I don't know how to get it and keep it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, kind of a thing. And that's what Spirit is wanting me to talk about, because like I said, I feel like there's an immense schmegdual compatibility. Like I feel like you both, I just heard you're on fire for each other. Like you both really like each other. You're both really attracted to each other. And there is like, when you do the thing, there's a lot of chemistry. Like you do the thing very well. But the incompatibility, I think that both of you are actually very attractive people, and you might actually be used to getting a lot of attention from the opposite sex or just people in general in that way. Like both of you have people that are interested in you and want to date you. You have options, right? But there's a difference in the way that both of these people play with those options or don't. And it could be a gender difference in the way that our society kind of coaches men. Like this is what you're supposed to be, and this is what your value is supposed to be, and this is how you're supposed to relate to your schmegduality, and how our culture coaches women. But it feels deep-seated, and it does feel like what these people are turned on by and what they find to be attractive. Because there's one person here, and I feel like it's the masculine, that is very diffuse. That's how this feminine energy sees it. She's not attracted to what is common, what is a dime a dozen, and what is diffuse. I think in her eyes, he takes a shallow approach to schmegduality. I don't think he feels shallow about her. I think she just finds his schmegduality to be rooted in that way, rooted in very shallow ground, very, very, anybody can get it. You can get it, you can get it, you can get it. And so she's like, I'm not attracted. She feels, and this could be the masculine in this. I don't exactly know. Like again, switch the genders. But it's like, she feels like this is something that we can make special. You know, it just depends on like how we treat ourselves and how we are approaching this. And this is much different than having some kind of puritanical, controlling, the way it's coming through to me is like, it's much different than having a puritanical, controlling, restrictive view on schmegduality. It's much different. But I feel like it seems to me like this masculine is on the verge of, or has somehow gotten some kind of new understanding about her feelings and about her approach to schmegduality. This like more nuanced or deeper view about what turns her on, because it just doesn't turn her on, is what it feels like. The fact that he's just thoughting and bopping or like out and about with it. Because somebody here, it's like they really like to play with attention. They really like to play with attention in that way, like attractive attention that makes them feel attractive. It's like, you know, one after the other kind of a thing. And the other person, I think, has as many options. Like the female here, you're both attractive people, and it's the other person hasn't been with nearly as many people, and it's just because of their approach to that, and that's actually what turns them on, is this kind of this feeling of the restriction, or of the this is something that's important to me. This is something that I use to build my relationships. It's a lubricant that I use to build a different sector of my life, and it's just important to me, like in that way, you know. And there's a difference, and I don't know that I'm exactly describing it well, but there's a difference. And I do think that for this masculine, he maybe feels like she doesn't understand his, because I think to him there is just like a animalistic, this doesn't really mean anything to me side to him. But there's also, he doesn't feel that way about her. He feels that she's his soulmate, and it does feel different with her, and he wants to express that. He wants to show that in some kind of way. But there's this lost in translation moment around the schmegdual compatibility here of this couple, because I don't know, it's like she needs that deeper kind of compatibility here, and maybe feels like she needs to heal from this particular connection, and that there's something here about responsibility taking responsibility for, I think she's trying to take responsibility for the way that she's made herself feel, maybe by involving with a person that has such different views on their own schmexuality, because there really is not a desire coming from this feminine energy to control this masculine. She doesn't want to be like the guardian at the gate. I'm seeing that scene from The Breakup where Jennifer Aniston's character, like it's at the beginning of the movie where Jennifer Aniston's character is like explaining to Vince Vaughn, she's like, I want you to want to do the dishes. And he's like, who wants to do dishes? That's crazy. And she's like, but it helps me. And it's like, I want you to see me and I want you to want to be a productive part of this partnership. She's saying something that's like deeper than that. And so I think there's just this, I think she's relating to it as like, we have this fundamental incompatibility between the two of us. And I need to take responsibility about that. I need to take responsibility about the way that I've allowed myself to feel and how vulnerable, because she feels very vulnerable to me. She's trying to take responsibility for that. And so I think she's kind of putting a brave face on it and saying, look, I feel this way for you. I feel deeply for you. However, I'm responsible for my own safety physically and emotionally. I don't feel safe in this situation. And I also don't want to change you. I also don't want to be controlling. I don't want to be your mother. It's very much like that. I understand that you have a differing need and we just need to call this like it is. And it's weird here. It's weird here because it's like he doesn't feel the same way. Like he doesn't agree with that. And I think he feels like she's wish fulfillment in some way. There is a devilish energy though that like creeps around behind him and he's in his head about it. It's a sneakiness. And I think he also feels vulnerable and I think he feels insecure. He might feel like he can't measure up to some like fantasy. And I don't think from her perspective, it's not a fantasy what she has. I think it's like I just heard the word pledge. It's like a pledge or something. But so he might have snuck around on her in the past. And that could be what caused a splintering or a breakup in this. That might have been what I'm feeling, like the pain of the splinter. And a splinter is something that'll stick under your skin until it works itself out. And so the pain could have stuck with her. And I think that's maybe, again, why she's like, I need to take responsibility for this long-standing pain, or the fact that there's potential for this to cause me long-standing pain. And I don't want to take, I don't feel the solution is me trying to force this person. It's like trying to stuff your foot into a shoe that doesn't fit, And so I think she's just trying to be pragmatic and she's trying to be realistic, and he feels insecure, and that's something that he's hiding from her as well. He doesn't know how to tell her his truth. I think that this masculine actually sees this feminine as being very strong. And there's something about like taming the beast in him. And it's like he wants that and he doesn't want that. It's like she's not interested in taming his beast at all. She feels like that's for you to do. You need to decide where you apply your self-discipline and where you don't. What you want to build towards and what you don't. And I'm not about to try to put my finger on that scale, because that's also not what she wants. She doesn't want to coerce him into drawing a certain conclusion. This is actually a very freedom-loving group in their own ways. Both of you, I think, have a value of independence and autonomy, freedom and liberation. And you express it in your different ways. And there is a different thing that turns each of you on. That's what it really is. And because one person's like, I like to just be anywhere and everywhere that I want to be, and that to me is freedom, not having any restrictions on it. And I'm supposed to tell you this. I learned something philosophically. I didn't apply it to this arena. But I heard true maturity in thought is realizing that freedom doesn't mean the absence of restriction. Once you mature, you realize that you have to choose what restrictions you apply and where. And again, I think that's where this feminine, it's like, if you don't choose to restrict yourself where I'm concerned, that's a decision that you get to make. And I respect that fully, and I just have to take responsibility for my heart and my physical safety and move away from this, But this masculine kind of does see her as endgame. And he does see like that potential for a beautiful future. And I do feel like there's almost this like, he wants to make her feel sacred. He wants to make her feel cared about and worshipped and like she stands apart here. But it's like he doesn't know how to get through to her. And it's, okay, there is manipulative energy here. He knows that's like not really the way. Maybe he feels he's been manipulative in the past. It's like he doesn't know how to communicate this. And I don't think that she knows, I don't know that she there could be some silence coming from this feminine too, because it's like she doesn't know if she can trust him in conversation as well. Like if I say the certain things, I feel like there's a potential for both of these people to get pigeonholed into a category, and so she's kind of thinking, if I try to express to you what I want, it's kind of the quintessential thing that women say that they want from men. And I just want you to know that I am not about to control you or force you into that. I also just don't want you to lie to me. And then I actually invest in you and I put some of my eggs in your basket little by little. And then all of a sudden we're kind of building this thing together, and then you're faulty. And then I fundamentally don't get what I want at the end of the day. I get heartbroken. I get humiliated. I get a disease. Like, I have to break up my family. That is the one thing I've wanted since I was 4. It's like, I don't want that. I don't want to build my church on sand, kind of a thing. So there's an importance that comes through. And I think she feels important to him. And I think that relationship and potentially marriage is like a spiritual path for this feminine. And she gets to choose one person. And so she's trying to be responsible here about that. This masculine, I feel like, he has 2 tastes. He really does. It's like, and it makes her feel scared. And it makes her also feel not schmegzual. There's a certain amount of vulnerability and intimacy because these 2 have got it. They really got it. But he's got to make her feel safe. And I just don't know that he's the man that can. And that, I feel like that's what she's saying. Okay, we have this. It's nice for a time. Maybe 1 time, 2 times. I don't know. It's nice for a time. But at the end of the day, I don't feel safe. And this isn't sustainable because of that. And I feel like that even causes a tower moment in this masculine because he feels like, no, like I can do that. I don't know. This is complicated. This is really complicated. And I feel like it touches on some very deep conversations that are hard to have with just anybody, and it's hard to know. It's always going to be awkward. Having this conversation is just always going to be awkward. So I just heard, just put that out of your mind. It's never not going to be awkward. It's never not going to be difficult to try and communicate yourself. But it's like both of these people are like, we need to have this conversation, but I don't trust you to hear me in the way that I need to be heard. I don't trust you to be curious about where I'm coming from. I don't trust you to hear the need that I have, that's beneath whatever solution I feel like suits me best. Like there's a need behind it, and I don't trust you to necessarily hear that. Or maybe it's, I don't know how to communicate myself well or properly. So I just feel like if you want to be the person that initiates this conversation, it would be best for you to say all these things up front. Everything that I just said, like, I don't know how to communicate myself. Okay, I'm probably going to be faulty. I understand this is a touchy conversation. I don't know how, or like, I really want to set a container of safety between the 2 of us. This is a hard conversation to have. I'm willing to take responsibility for my needs, for getting my needs met, which is why, but I also want to choose you. And it's like, I understand that we have to be very conscious and like just very open and this is hard. I feel like it's hard to start this or to bridge the gap. And I think it will always be the feminine that is, I'm just seeing her kind of shaking like a leaf. I feel like if he wants to go on the path with her, he's got to acknowledge that he makes her feel that way. And he'll make her feel that way into the long term because she knows she has to trust him. And I think he's proven himself to be a person that has certain tastes that she doesn't like and she's not turned on by and that she does not agree with. And she feels that's a precarious position for her to be in. And it is a precarious position for her to be in. And it's asking a lot of her to trust him into the long term. Because, you might feel that way today, but what happens when you get what you want? What happens when I say yes? What happens when I say I do? And you feel bored, or you feel, like, because you don't have the same values as me, and because you don't have the same view on relationship, what's going to carry you through? Like, what is that? And I think he needs to outline what that is for her. Because I don't think she'll trust him if he says, well, it's just you, like I want you. Because she's like, listen, what happens if you get me? Then what do you want beyond that? Cheap, meaningless schmegs with random strangers? Because that's exactly the part that I take contention with. Like, so, I don't know. I feel like this, like I said, it's tough. I don't know if these 2 can actually make it work. I feel like the feminine here is being more pragmatic and realistic about that. She's willing to look at that very directly, but it's because she's the one that's most at risk in this particular situation. And I think somehow this masculine has gotten a realization. I don't know if you had a conversation already. Maybe it didn't go well. Or maybe the conversation you had was like, look, I gotta move away from this. I gotta put the kibosh on this. And you just had to be strong and you love him or you feel that same connection with him. And so you're like, in order for me to get out of here, I just got to say it and go or something. I don't know what happened here. I feel like you could have potentially had this conversation, but it didn't go well. or it broke your own heart. Like you had to cry. And so you don't want him to push back because you know that you're inclined to cave, but you know this is the right decision for you. This feels hard. Okay. This feels like really, really hard. But I feel like this masculine has gotten some kind of recent understanding about this feminine's views and what her needs are. And also this comes down to what turns her on and what doesn't. And he can really ruin that for her. Just the schmegdual experience, it's delicate. Yeah, it's delicate. Hearing that song Delicate by Taylor Swift, like this ain't for the best. My reputation's never been worse, so you must like me for me. Like there's a sense of like the two of you liking each other for yourself, but there's also this sense of sneakiness that has gone on here as well. And there also, somebody might have a very, both of you could have even grown up with religious understanding as well, because I feel like that's maybe pushed, or maybe this is what's fragmented this masculine as well, because sometimes I think this, like the religious approaches to schmegs, it makes it like dirty or gross or wrong. So it can make you very attracted to someone who is noble. And I just heard virile and like virtuous in that Leo energy, you know, of like, I'm strong and I'm noble. But then also it gives you the sense of like, oh, this is secret and dirty, you know, and that can be what turns people on as well. Or it can make somebody afraid. And so there could be this, like, that's where the split is. Somebody has that, like, I like to be dirty and underhand, and that's what turns me on because it makes me feel like I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do. And I get turned on by breaking the rules. Okay, well, can this couple figure out how to break the rules and how to, like, have that feeling between the two of them? It's like you might have to get creative, or you might have to get to the bottom of, I think that could be the gift of this connection, is it's encouraging you to get to the bottom of, like, what does turn you on and what's the actual core element of it. Okay, you've always been expressing it in this way, but maybe that was sloppy. Maybe that lacked creativity when you actually look at it. It was just the path of least resistance. What is it, and how can you find a healthy way that honors both of you? Like, I feel like this group needs a plan or something, like, and it needs people to take responsibility for what they like and how to not harm people. I just heard cruelty-free schmegduality, like how to not harm people with it. And if both of you, I think, are committed to that you absolutely both abhor betrayal and harm, then, and I think this feminine thinks maybe he likes that. He likes betrayal and he likes harm. That's what turns him on. And she's like, not me. As for me and my house, we don't do that. You know, my children will not learn that. It's something here like that. And it's hard to be vulnerable with somebody that you feel like is inherently opposed to you and the kind of life that you want to live. So like I said, this feels very hard. I don't know if this, I don't know. This feels sad because it feels almost like a waste, you know, to throw away something that feels like so good and so powerful and so right in a lot of ways, but that you have this fundamental difference. And, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the path forward is. My cat is screaming in the background. It's Soul. And so that's the boy cat. And that's like sun energy, philosophy, healing, finding who you are as a person. And again, I think that's the gift of this. Even if you don't end up taking the path together, it's like figuring out the root of exactly who you are, why you are the way you are, being able to advocate for your needs, being able to hear the other person out, and being able to set a container of, we can talk about this and we don't have to demonize the other person. I can just acknowledge that you're fundamentally different and you're fundamentally different than me. And this might be something, this feels like a fundamental difference, and it feels like something that you both have to really want this to overcome this. And you may just have to look it right in the face and say, damn, what a loss. But it is a loss. And so, like, many blessings to you, like, you know, but we have to go our separate ways. So anyways, that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.